Big news from Mercedes. This is here an all-new Mercedes GLC, a very unique one. Let me show you why. Pressing here the logo on the hood. You can do that, no problem. And then there is no engine. This is here the GLC EQ, as they now call it, the EV version, because they do not differentiate between the combustion engine names and the electric names anymore now. Huge frunk in the front, very well usable. Nice matte here even, so this shall show the premium character, and this will be here super significant. Why? Well, the GLC combustion engine is the most sold Mercedes model in the recent years worldwide. 2 days ago, you've seen on our channel, the BMW iX3 has been launched, which will really put a lot of pressure on the premium EV market, both for SUVs and non-SUVs. And now Mercedes launches the GLC EV. And this has to be very significant for them to conquer the EV market also in this very segment. And probably this one will be the major model and not the new CLA EV, you know, because the GLC model style is sold so much more often. But can it keep up with the promises? How is the relation between GLC EV and the iX3? We'll have a separate segment where we also compare both of the electric values and so on, and all the deals you need to know. Now with Thomas Nautegefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with a significantly new styled front grille. This new front grille will not only define Mercedes design language for the electric models, but for all models. And what have they done there? This is basically a citation of really past models of Mercedes to make it really tall with the chrome frame around. Not screaming out EV, but mixing the modern language with light play and so on. So here these pixel lights, they also dissolve when you open or close the vehicle. So basically combining a classic combustion engine grille and a more modern grille with better aerodynamics and so on, and light features. Here the star, this is the EU version. When you have the Northern American market version, for example, there will also be a ring illuminated around. Why is that? There is an EU law where they forbid the manufacturers from using the one-to-one corporate identity logo as an illumination. Yeah, doesn't make any sense, but they have to comply with that. That's just the case. So all the fans from the Northern American market, they can be happy that they also have then the ring around illuminated. The base grille is not illuminated. And then starting from the mid-trim levels, if you could do some clicks, you will have this illumination. This, by the way, lavender silver, this very interesting color here. And yeah, you have to say, I think it's a good decision with the grille not to make it screaming out EV, but to mix some of the worlds. The main headlamp unit you can see here, optional matrix LED, which has even more light power, at the same time half of the energy consumption. And here once again this strange law again, that the Mercedes star on the inside is not, it may not be one-to-one how the Mercedes star looks like. So they would have done it if they were allowed to, actually. The length here is 4 meters 85 or 191 inches. That's 13 centimeters or 5 inches longer than the combustion engine GLC, and 8 centimeters of that go to the wheelbase, which will also have an effect on the rear passenger compartment. This one, by the way, here with these side steps, and I mean, they look quite cool. You don't have to take them. Interestingly, they are good for aerodynamics and not bad for aerodynamics. By the way, here the CD value is 0.26 with the smallest wheels, 19-inch. I will soon also compare the values again against the BMW iX3, also the battery comparison and so on. As I said, we have a separate segment where we do the GLC versus iX3 comparison. Wheels, as I said, 19-inch base. These here are 21-inch, the biggest ones available, also somewhat aerodynamic styling, but of course when the wheels are wider, this is worse for the overall range. We can also, by the way, on Leah's side, when we turn around, soon we have a second version for you. This is here the one in red with AMG Line Plus with more night package black accentuations and so on. So this is also soon to come. But let's start here with the, let's say, more realistic or lower priced one. Will it be really lower priced one? Yeah, we talk about the price later as well. This one here is only a normal AMG line, which still has the chrome frames around. Only if you go for the night package, then you would have these here in black. And the AMG Line Plus, soon to show you, combines the AMG line, something on top, plus the night package. That's the basic logic. New rear design. They have kind of a black panel design that goes all the way through. I think this one will spark a lot of discussion design-wise. Gotta get used to it, definitely. And once again, these star silhouettes then on the inside. On the technology side, what else is interesting? You get a base suspension, then an air suspension optional, together in a package with the 4.5 degrees in the opposite direction rear axle steering. We have to see if it will also be available on all markets. Later this info is also to come. And they combine it in this package here for this like top-end riding comfort. This is, by the way, a difference to the BMW iX3. The GLC offers that. The air suspension, BMW says, we want to save weight, we want to save costs. Cars not supposed to be too expensive, want to have a sporty ride, so they went in a different direction there. Why? And the exact differences later once again. And you can see here in this spec, we also have the same paint for the wheel arches, so this is a more subtle look overall. So I think visual, it works very well. To the rear, I think I have to get used to, but in the front, I think it's a very interesting approach to make it not specifically, hey, you know, this is an electric vehicle, because they had some bad experience with it. When you think about the EQS, the initial EQC, and also the EQE, where people said, this is too much EV look for me, you know what I mean? Now about the EV specific things, because that's very important. You can see here on this side we don't have anything. The charging port is on the other side. So the battery capacity, and this will be crucial in the difference to the BMW iX3. Battery capacity here, usable size net, is 94 kilowatt hours. That is bigger with the BMW iX3. Gotta say that already. And charging will be quite quick because let's see here, electric charging flap. You will get DC charging, 800 volt technology, and then you have a 330 kilowatt peak, and they promise a charging time from 10 to 80% state of charge in 20 minutes. And that's of course quite cool also for, you know, recharging on the motorway and so on. And AC charging is 11 or optional 22 kilowatt. You might ask yourself, because there was a topic with the CLA recently, 400 volt charging. Yes, it's possible, also from start of orders with this vehicle. However, it will be depending on the country if they make it standard or if you have to set an option in the configurator that you can also charge at these DC charging stations, which are not super quick. So that, yeah, that was a thing. But here at least it's available from the start or already included in, for example, in Portugal, it will be already included. Now to the driving facts as well. This one here is the GLC 400 all-wheel drive, one electric motor in front, one in the rear. I heard there will be some other versions later on, for example, an entry-level rear-wheel drive version, probably also with a smaller battery for a lower entry price and so on. This one here will accelerate in about like 4.5 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. Top speed is 210 kilometers an hour or 130 miles per hour. And what's also interesting, talked about the air suspension. If you have that and drive more than 120 kilometers an hour, 75 miles an hour, the vehicle is lowering for better aerodynamic efficiency. But now they also, at least if you go for this special technology pack, combine it with an option that it will be GPS dependent. For example, when the car then sees, you are on the motorway and you may be driving a little bit slower, like 80 kilometers an hour, 50, 60 miles an hour, it will still keep it lowered and not put it higher again. So this is also an interesting new technology feature. This one is here now, a red vehicle with AMG line Plus. And very interesting to know, the other vehicle was also the base AMG line. And then usually the front grille looks like this here with this dark chrome. And you can deselect that with the AMG line. This is what happened on the other vehicle. But here now, how it looks like in the AMG line, so with this darker chrome here. Then AMG line Plus with black accentuations here. For example, the frame around is also black, because the AMG line Plus includes the night package, and also here with black on the mirror caps, around the window frames and so on. The entry badge here, or this, actually the entry badge, yes. The entry badge is in black then in the AMG line Plus, and the lower sill. This is also then in black. These are special 21-inch wheels, so overall for the more sinister look, so to speak. And you also have here a longer rear spoiler. In the CLA, this was not that good for the aerodynamics, but here when you make it longer, that's actually not a bad thing, you know. So in this case then with the GLC, the AMG line Plus is not so bad as for like the additional parts. However, because it already includes the large wheels, this is the main factor, because the wheels are wider, This, of course, then bad for the overall range. So the best range, once again, with the smallest wheels. So would you go rather for this more aggressive looking version or rather for the avant-garde, as they call it, looking version? Now towards the interior in the front, this is the key fob. Small, but good quality actually. I like it. When you approach the vehicle or when you open it here or when you slide, then these flush door handles come out, but then they're actually manual. Door closing sound. Very solid, like that. Sounds like good quality. Then instead of the doors, everything wrapped here. Then you have an ambient lighting integration, it's cool. However, no felt covering at the inside of the door here. Here, by the way, you can also open frunk and trunk, so this would also be possible, but yeah, the logo press is also cool. Oh, we have 4 window levers, so they did not go for the 2 window lever solution like in the CLA. Good to know that. And here you can move the seat and you also have this feedback, you know, so you see that you are actually moving it. However, the seat heating button is not there anymore. Saw that also with the Mercedes CLA recently. Then dual insulation here for the front. However, we only see that in the front, but not in the rear. However, this is actually quite thick, this glass then here. Then the steering wheel, AMG line, 2 spokes. Base would look different. And then here, for the cruise control and for the volume, like in the CLA shooting brake introduced recently again, the return of the jogs, of the physical controls, really good to have them. And the interesting thing is that Mercedes calls them rocker and roller. So left side the rocker and the right side, so it's rock and roll time again for the steering wheel. Good that we took your feedback to Mercedes and then they went back also for this solution at the steering wheel. And also it's new. It's also available for the combustion engine GLC actually, but this one here is also an animal-free steering wheel. So this is available. You have to select it in the configurator and it looks the same, it feels the same.
For my AMG line.
Yeah, and also available for the AMG line. That's also pretty cool. So, and it's available throughout the lines basically. So good development as for that. And then here the seats. There are sport seats and comfort seats. These are the sport seats. You can see here they have like more accentuation here. They're wider there. And also on top they have this integrated head restraint. You can also adjust it like this. This is possible. And the comfort seat would be with a separate head restraint and would look a little bit different. They have different materials available. Artico, the high-grade leather red, would be standard in the UK and US. In Germany, we can also get a fabric mix, for example. Or this one in here, the microfiber on the middle part. This is then here for the AMG line. You can also extend this front part. And these seats are sporty and rather a little bit stiffer. We have to test the comfort seat at a later stage. This will be very important to see and to be able to compare it also to the iX3, because from the first seating impression here on the sport seats, the iX3 has better seating comfort. I have to keep you updated on that. But again, we have to test then the comfort seat later on. Welcome to this all new interior. And the most obvious thing is this new hyper screen, which is really one screen without the bezel in the middle. There are bezels top and bottom, but this is really one screen, 39-inch going all the way through. This is, once again, an option. Yeah, because the base would be 10-inch instruments, separated screens, and then 14-inch here and 14-inch on the passenger. Now it gets even more exciting. This is German option car logic. So the base said 10, 14, 14. And then on the right side, as in the base version, there is already a screen, but you can only pick between 12 background images. And only if you go for the next option, then the right passenger monitor is fully functional. It's like the same logic with the EQS or S-Class rear axle steering, where you buy the rear axle steering, but only the full degree unlock is a software unlock, you know. Yeah, I think that's not good for the customer relation, let's take it that way. However, most GLCs which are spec'd will already come with the full functional monitor, because it's only the base version which has this background. Still, I don't think it's a good decision for the customer. And then optional, the full hyper screen with 39-inch. And that looks really cool that you have it all the way through and not these large bezels in the middle part. We can soon play around with this a little bit. Another thing is here, the roof, you get standard glass roof, which already has like heat protection. And this is the optional roof with the option of ambient lighting stars in the middle, you can see. And this is also done with the electrochrome function, where you can change it here, but only in the screen or with voice control. That's also possible. So for example, you can have this not making sense style, because this is just to see like how it works. But no one would actually do that, I think. You would either put it all the way closed, yeah, like this. So then you have like least glare effect, or you make it all the way clear like this. And the ambient lighting color also changes according to the rest of the scheme. And you can change ambient styles here. For example, you can go for AMG line, you have it more red integrated. You can go for polar night, for example, cosmic glow. I rather think of cosmic gate then, or big surf. Then you have here this wave design, and you can also have like really visible like this, and you can also see the ambient lighting in this river hoop here changes around, and also changes once again in the roof. So yeah, very nicely done visually, definitely. And you can also quickly change between the GPS, the car internal GPS here. It also like blends to the sides, and you can see here, not sure if it's just in the studio here, if it's then quicker in the final version, this main infotainment unit. The climate unit in the lower part, no physical interaction, but you can see the ambient lighting moves together with that. This is always a very cool effect. And we have nice vents here in the turbine style, also with clicking sounds. So this is always a spectacular effect. And here, not so much high gloss black. This is a cool thing. Let me just deactivate this one here. So here we have this, the tech mesh design, I would call it that way. Different decor styles are available. Manual volume jog, at least have this one already. One button here also for the voice control. And these are middle air vents. You can also control them manually. They're also nice. Inductive charging pads, left and right. And they are also actively cooled. Cup holders are here active. They're better for coffee mugs, however, for tall bottles, not that good. But I can feel, we're going to test it with them with the heavier bottles, because I feel that the resistance is a little bit stronger than it was before. And then here, split armrest with some space underneath. That, yeah, there's some good space underneath, definitely. There we go, good clicking sounds. And to start the vehicle here, press this button like in a like on-off switch. This is basically the ignition switch. Headroom here with 189, 602. There's a lot of headroom left here in the front. And here, steering wheel electrically, up and down, in and out. We do have shifting pedals, and also the shifting lever can be pushed forward and backward. In the CLA you don't have the shifting pedals, but then the recuperation is here. We have to see how it is here. Since we have shifting pedals, I would suspect that we have the recuperation in here on the shifting pedals again. And you also have this head-up display case here in the front. Driver POV, once again here with the real physical dials on the steering wheel. Like to have that. View to the digital instruments, look like this. And you can also get this head-up display. You can see also the transitions here. Then the car menu, this is where you control the roof then with the individual tiles, for example. And yeah, this is then the main menu with the main items. You can also play Angry Birds. Seen it introduced with the Mercedes E-Class, for example.
Very important.
Oh yes, yeah. Very important, thanks to Leah. Here you can deactivate this EU speed chime. Doesn't show at the moment, but it should still also work with press and holding the volume or mute button. They can also activate or deactivate it. And by the way, this is the interior camera where you can take photos. For whatever reason you would do that. Thanks, Leah, for filming in this really hot studio here today. And she's also handing a light.
Maybe we tell you a story.
Telling
Once
the
upon a time.
scary story with the light from below. And seat heating, and here the heated steering wheel is where you have to press here, and then you go into the deeper menu here and here. And this is where you would also have the seat cooling. If you have the Artico seat, this is also available with active seat cooling, not available for microfiber. Rear seats, inside here is everything covered. Interesting integration of the Burmester sound system, by the way. Hardpack here only at the lower inside of the doors. By the way, here, interesting, the seat heating for the rear seats is integrated right here. That's an interesting idea. And then here, legroom. yeah, you do profit from this longer wheelbase here in the GLC EV, definitely, so that's enough. And headroom here is a little bit closer to the side, but here to the glass roof, that's also enough with 189, 6'2". And this one here is at the moment the closed layer, so to speak, of this electro-chrome panoramic roof. And then here in the middle part, we can fold down here these couples. They're also somewhat adaptive. And the overall seating comfort is okay. As I said, the seat ergonomics and the material here is kind of stiff. Maybe the Artico is a little bit softer. We have to test it at a later stage. Then the interior here, not completely flat bottom, but rather and two USB-C chargers. Trunk or the boot, here we flip the logo here. And by the way, if you listen really closely, and this is an external speaker giving you some spaceship sound. CLA also has that, for example. You can deactivate it. Just want to show you that it is possible if you want to be space shipped while you're standing at the vehicle. Yeah. Okay, about that. Then let's take a look at the 570 liters. This one can you fold up. This one fits in easily. Then here the width. This is a meter of 40 inches. And you can see it's a little bit wider than that. The length here is also a meter of 40 inches. Yeah, they have this plastic cover right here. I'm not sure why this is not covered here. But they made this one as one piece, showing you why here, because you can set it even a little bit lower and there's even more space underneath. That's cool, actually. And then from this lower position here, the maximum height is about 35 inches or 77 centimeters. And what's also pretty cool, and I like Mercedes for that, here you can have an easy remote folding. There we go. And then we have the total length to the front seats with about 72 inches or 1.83 meters or 1.85 meters. So very well usable, definitely. And you can see between normal GLC and GLC Coupe, it more goes into the normal GLC direction here, definitely. And yeah, with this remote folding mechanism, that's better than the BMW iX3, for example. And now a very exciting part. What about the comparison GLC EQ versus the BMW iX3? So when we think about what is the unique selling point here, first of all, from the design, at least in the front, it doesn't look that much electric, and that might be something important for a lot of car buyers. Then on the comfort side, I mean, this one here offers the optional air suspension. This is something unique to it. And the rear access steering, which is really interesting for maneuverability in the basement garage and so on. So this is not offered by BMW. Probably this one will also then go higher in the price a little bit. For BMW, we do have the prices, which will be around 60 to 80,000 euros, low to high spec, small to big battery and so on. We do not have the exit prices for the GLC yet, but considering that they have a longer option list and also some more features like the air suspension and rear access steering, we expect a wider price span and also in general a little bit higher price than what we mentioned for the BMW. We'll keep you updated on that. Then about the EV facts, there we gotta say that when you just think about the range and efficiency thing, the BMW iX3 has obviously a lead on that, because battery difference here from the two big batteries is 14 kilowatt hours. So here it was as 94, and with BMW it was at 108. And this is significant. Plus the BMW 0.24 in a CD video, this here 0.26, only in the best specs each. But overall, the WLTP figure, like the official driving cycle, is 700 kilometers here for the GLC and 800 kilometers for the iX3. So 100 kilometers or 60 miles difference. The realistic range figures, if you think, hey, what could be a real world case and not the official driving figure, would be more like here 550 kilometers, 340, 350 miles, and then rather towards 400 miles and 640 kilometers for the BMW. So this will be like the crucial difference. This one here offers the more comfort features for the suspension. The iX3 will drive longer, will be a little bit more efficient, and also just bigger in the battery size. That's what we expect from the biggest differences so far. And as soon as we know the price for you, you can also take it in the video description and so on, or make like a separate small post about it. We'll keep you updated with all the details you need to know. And of course, I'm really looking forward to drive this one, because the concise comparison between iX3 and GLC we can then do when we could both drive the vehicles, when we can drive both vehicles and then make a final verdict about it. But it's really interesting because overall there is more power coming from the German automotive industry. Again, both of these vehicles are hot hitters in the EV segment, not only the SUVs, but the electric vehicles in general. And it's also important that not only design language, but also the whole technology. This is not only about the GLC EQ or the electric GLC, but also about all the next electric vehicles like a new electric E-Class, a new electric S-Class will all be based on this, what we see here today, also with the interior and so on. So more exciting news there to come. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Now tune into the iX3 if you haven't seen so far.